Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Yeah.
Oh, hello, mate. As
Sorry.
expected, your demeanour and general just exhaustion that you're sort of exuding suggests that it's been quite a long week, has it?
Now, I'm someone who loves holidays, vacations, and all that, but I have developed a genuine hatred for half term. Well, this particular week, no, seriously, it's been a tiring week, but it's been a great week. You know, we had the shows, we had the kids, we had the fun. Now we get to sit down and have a little rest for a couple of days.
Yeah, no, as obviously we mentioned last week, you've just you were obviously preparing and just finishing rehearsals before your week of half-term entertainment shows for the children, as per usual. So, but it all went well, I take it. Though.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, lovely stuff. We had great fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have you back and ready and raring to go. But I tell you what, it's not too bad, mate, because although you're exhausted, you haven't got to do 45 minutes of nattering, because fortunately we've got a bloody brilliant guest on this week, haven't we? And
it was a good point, well made. And yeah, you're right with that. We got a fabulous guest on, someone we've really been waiting to talk to for some time, haven't we?
Yeah, very busy chap. Someone I've worked with before. Lovely bloke. And with a very how do I word this? A story to tell, which is shocking, but equally has an important outcome, I think we can say.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But,
it's like all good drama. It has its dark sides, its light sides, but its main protagonist tells a wonderful story. It's brilliant.
Exactly that. Brilliant. Couldn't have put it better, mate. So I think we don't mess around any further. We don't delay any further. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the very talented, the wonderful, and I know you're all going to hugely enjoy listening to him and watching him, the brilliant Mr. Christophe Philipps. And there he is, a spectacular, if I may say, the wonderful Mr. Christophe Philipps is joining Drewling Samantics. Hello, mate. It's been bloody forever.
Hasn't it? Hello. So nice to see you. I know.
Hi, Christophe. Lovely to meet you.
Yes. Good to see you, mate.
We've been trying to think back through, but it's got to be a good 4 years or so, I think.
It's one of those things. It feels a little bit lost to the mists of time, because it is a while ago, but I know it was, not the very start of our careers. So it's kind of in the recent past, but things have been busy and crazy. So yeah.
I mean, as performers, we obviously have to remember a lot of stuff, and God forbid we ever try and remember when we actually did something or anything when it comes to that. But either way, we know since the visit to the unwelcome guest, you and I shared I was going to say a stage. It wasn't a stage. We shared a rather large hall.
Yeah.
We'll come to what we did, because it was unusual, I think, is probably a safe way of putting it. Brilliant, enjoyable, but quite a unique experience. But it was slightly off what you're tending to do quite a lot now. So rather than me trying to explain various things, we'll kick off this wonderful guest episode, as we tend to do with our guests. And if you don't mind, Christophe, please explain to all the lovely listeners and viewers who you are, what you do, and why you're here, maybe.
Well, okay. So it's a really tricky question, because I've always done loads of different things creatively. I started as a singer-songwriter. These aren't just props. These are actual instruments.
Yeah, for anyone listening, Christophe's got a fabulous collection of guitars. So I think we've got electric. Is that banjo or ukulele? I can't quite tell.
Banjo,
and then
bass.
And that's a bass on the far end, yeah.
There's about 7 or 8 others in the loft, let alone the ones that are in the well, I mean, the boat space.
Yes.
But I then kind of moved from that into performing on stage, which got me into writing. So I then went and trained as a writer as well. I've staged my own productions. So I've been a producer and a director. And of course, once you go professional, you start doing whatever the job demands. What's that old adage? You say yes and work out how to do the job later.
Yeah.
And it really does take you crazy places. But like you said, I have moved away a little bit from the more performance side, and these days I'm focusing much more on being an event MC and a kind of on-camera presenter. So I bring a lot of different skills in, and it's all that background is not wasted time. This is totally what has made me and given me the skills that I draw on every day. But life is a funny thing, as I'm sure we'll get into, and it does take you places for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing because these brief meetings or occasions where you work with someone can have much longer lasting effects. As I said, we haven't seen each other for a good few years, but have kept in contact. And when it comes to booking guests for this podcast, we always try and seek out people that we've either worked with or we know of who are entertaining, have an interesting story to tell, and are equally very, very good at what they do, whatever part of the industry it may be. Lots of people like you have had these different sort of strings to their bows or gone in different routes and picked up different elements along the way. But we've actually not spoken to someone or gone into depth with regards to things like emceeing, event hosting, presenting. So it's wonderful to have you on to talk that, not the least just to catch up in general, but and may I just say, a fellow podcast presenter, but not a competitor. We're in very different spheres, so it's okay. We're not giving airtime to one of our rivals.
No, this is true. It's a very different podcast I do. It's actually a podcast. It's called Minus the Hangover, and the clue is in the title because it's all about no and low alcohol drinks. So not a competitor to you,
No.
but possibly some crossover in the audience.
Well, exactly that.
Well, there is for me, because I do like a good low alcohol lager. So I'm very, very happy to have you sitting there, Christophe. And so what got you? We, as you know, Sam and I started this during the period of the unwelcome guests because we just needed to sort of vent. Frustration, and then now it is taken off to being in a position to welcome wonderful fellow podcasters and performers and talents such as yourself. How did the podcast come about? Because it's a fascinating and not necessarily niche subject either.
Well, this is a podcast that I do with one of my best friends. I grew up near Hastings, so he lives in Hastings. I actually now live the other side of Brighton, so there's quite a distance between us. But we go camping together, and we spend a lot of time when we can. And we were floating around various ideas for things that we could do as a podcast, as a bit of video content, maybe. I mean, his background, I think it's fair to say, is quite the techie end. It's kind of web marketing, web development, websites, it's all that vague stuff that I don't really understand. And it came out of just a few conversations we had about what could we do together for a bit of, for want of a better phrase, to say a bit of passive income. So something that we can do where it's not just constantly looking for a job, doing the job, and then back to square one. And it's not quite as simple as that because you do build connections and you build on the work that you've done. But we were thinking, is there a way that we can come up with something that we can talk about and then it's out there and possibly down the line, that's a little small and probably tiny income stream, but it's just there churtling away. And there were actually a few different incarnations that we came up with first. I've for quite a few years now, I've been teaching at several universities on story structure. And when I did my master's degree, that was kind of the area that I focused most on. So, which, are skills that I draw on in my current work as well. But I was very much thinking, is there a way that I can put these online as workshops? And if I do that, how do I get it in front of people? I don't want to do the work and then there it is, it's out there, but nothing comes of it. So we were literally camping one day and I just said to him off the cuff, how about we do a channel where it's like a YouTube channel, story structure workshops. I'll design the course. You market it and find out how to monetize it if there is a way, things like that. And it's an even 50-50 split because I can't do anything with what I know and can put together without you, and you've got nothing to put out there without me. So let's just do 50-50. The actual division of labor and hours doesn't come into it. Let's just be mates and do it like that. We kind of pursued that idea for a while, and we did various tests, and there's no reason really why we haven't actually got that up and running. I think life got in the way. We got busy, other projects, things like that. But following that, he then proposed to me, not in marriage, I'm sad to say. It's weird.
I'm sure your wife would see it differently, Chris.
Well, there is that as well, yes. No, he basically came to me and said, look, I've got this idea for a podcast on no and low alcohol drinks. Now, it's weird because he used to run a brewery, Hastings Brewery, and it was very successful. They won awards, they did a good job, and it was great having a mate who ran a brewery, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But I worked in pubs for years and years and years. So both of us were sort of not coming it from the no-low angle, from the no and low alcohol. Oh, it's this amazing thing where we want to evangelize about it and tell the world. It was more that actually this is a thing that's changing. There seems to be a lot of choice suddenly. Are they any good? And can we approach it, first of all, as mates and as kind of ordinary punters coming to these things? Not necessarily to find every incarnation of it amazing. I mean, the truth is, some of them are great. A lot aren't, and they're not good enough. And to that end, when we started putting the podcast together, one of the main things we talked about was how do we even justify our views? What's the point in giving a kind of score out of 10, which nevertheless people seem to go 7.2 for something, which is completely meaningless. But what are we judging? And it all boiled down to, would we buy it? Would we drink it? So therefore, is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
Yeah.
And once we got to that really simple thing, it's like, okay, here we are, just two mates talking. That's something that you can't fake. Approaching something for the first time, something you can't fake as much as you might train in improv and everything like that. And do we like it? Let's keep it simple and let's put it out there. And that's where it all came from.
Wow. And it's fantastic. It's intriguing, isn't it? Because these things sort of run away with you. I mean, when Drew and I started this podcast, it was very much let's fit into a gap and just do this and we'll see where it goes. We never would have dreamed we'd be 5 years on, still doing this, still getting great numbers, mainly, and in fact, almost totally due to the incredible guests we have on, but just that people wanting to know more about the industry. And as you say, no-low drinks, a massive, massive industry that is only getting bigger and bigger as time progresses. So to be able to talk about that, and I think it's intriguing because anything that is a critique, unless there is a scientific kind of scale, is someone's opinion. And as you say, to then go and try and put some sort of numeric value or something, you've simplified it to a point that people can empathize with and can understand, which is brilliant. And to be able to do a podcast which primarily is audio based, people listen to, where you're sampling something that the audience are not, to still make that a success is a great skill. So huge kudos to you both.
Thank you, mate. I mean, we've actually found a lot of people have started doing kind of drink along with us.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, we're really getting a lot of feedback on that. So we trail what drinks we're going to do in the next episode. We say when the episode's coming out, and people save that episode until they've had the chance to pick up those drinks and see what they think.
Wow.
So the kind of the future is bright because we see us doing drinking clubs and kind of maybe even like membership where we do it all together in a kind of, video forum or in person. We don't know. I mean, we are exploring the options. It's
Incredible.
great.
I mean, I have to admit, I don't drink along when I listen because I normally listen when I'm in the car. And regardless of whether it's non-alcoholic or not, having a bottle that looks like a beer driving down the motorway probably would gain some attention that I'm not really after. So I genuinely am a listener, love listening. And I'm hoping, because you've been on a brief break, I'm hoping you're coming back soon. Is that right?
We are actually, yeah. So we took a little bit of a break kind of over Christmas and into the new year. And the interesting thing about taking a break is it gives you a chance to step back and kind of reassess is the wrong word, but literally just step off the treadmill. And then as you step back on, you find the rhythm that really works, not just the momentum you had before. So, we're going to make some changes slightly to the format. So we've always done it that it's been 3 tastings in depth within an episode, plus what we kind of call the big chat or the feature article, if you like. And that might be some aspect of the industry, generally sort of looked into by Pete, or some aspect of the history of Nolos or something. I'm quite a history guy, so I kind of take some of those aspects. But it's something we kind of talk about. But it's made us think like we probably want to do a little bit more per episode because there are so many drinks to cover. We will literally be 100 years old before we've even scratched the surface. Three a fortnight. So we're going to change it a little bit. We're going to do some video content as well, mini reviews that can be released in that way, still do some in-depth tastings, still do our big chat, but just kind of mix it up a little bit. And at the same time, we're going to have a bit of a rebrand, just so we've got a little bit more flexibility in literally the logos and things like that. It's all stuff that when there's so much momentum, or you're trying to get momentum, that you go, yeah, we'll deal with that down the line. Here we are. This is the moment.
You've actually found the point to do it, which is often the most difficult thing. So,
yeah, that's it.
But,
I'm going to dial it back a little bit, Christophe, because you mentioned about taking a break and rebranding and setting off onto a newer and brighter podcast and that. There was something, and it's a delicate matter, but it is actually a very positive aspect of your life where you had something happen to you, and I'm going to let you discuss it in more and introduce us to that, because you will put it and deal with it much better than me. In essence, you look at it and go, this must have been a terribly dark period, and it probably was. But chatting as we were just before we started recording, and you put it in such a wonderful way of saying, actually, there was a wonderful silver lining to what happened, and sitting there talking wonderfully about what you create and how you work. You are evidence that better things, much better things could happen. So, Christophe, tell us what this big thing, massive thing that happened, and how you have just spun it into something so positive.
Well, I mean, first of all, thank you for that wonderful summary of my efforts. I mean, I don't feel at all like I'm being that positive all the time. Let me say, yeah, there was a big thing. So in about summer 2024, I was diagnosed with throat cancer. Now, cancer is pretty scary in its own right. And I was very lucky that it was, it's random. It was caused by a virus. So it's just a thing that can happen. I had no idea viruses could do that.
Wow.
But it was very self-contained. It was in my right tonsil. And I had to start chemo and radiotherapy. So, it was a 6-week program of treatment. They've given me 2 years of what will be termed as recovery. But I'm about a year on from the worst of my symptoms after recovery. In March of last year, I got my first all clear, and so far I'm all clear. I've been going in every 6 weeks.
Fantastic.
And I think that's actually shifting to every 2 months or every 3 months, something like that. And it kind of gets longer and longer. And it's a 5-year kind of block of time before you fully get to ring that bell. But like you said, I mean, this is why I find it so touching when you summarize it as being really positive. It's a big, dark, dangerous thing, having cancer. But I was very lucky. It was found in reasonably good time. It was actually misdiagnosed for kind of 6 to 8 months, something like that. But, it was still self-contained. I responded well to treatment, and I've been able to start building things up. But there's a whole other aspect to it, aside from just the kind of mortal threat and the impact it has on you as a person and your family and your finances and things. And that's because it was throat cancer for someone who uses their voice in their work. Started as a singer-songwriter. So, and I've talked about this with lots of people, and in that way, it's not delicate. I would rather break the taboo. But it's very difficult to say, well, I'm a creative that started as a singer-songwriter. That's my foundation. And I can't sing anymore. Who am I?
Yeah.
And it's really weird to change your creative identity, but to even ask that question and not have a solid answer. it's a voyage of discovery, if you like. It's a path I've had to embark on, not by choice, but by necessity. But weirdly, it's leading me into places that feel absolutely like the right place I should be, and like it's a positive choice. So, every day I don't feel positive. I miss singing and I miss picking up the guitar and being that guy and being relatively carefree about my health. I miss all of that. But it's not that what I'm left with is rubbish. I'm left with amazing things. Life is a gift. I'm still able to do so much of what I could and build on those things. And actually, I think be much, much better at what I do now than I ever was. So, this is one of the reasons it's leading me into event MC work and more presenting work. I'd been doing it for many years as part of all the things that I do. But these days, I can't rely on my memory in quite the same way because I'm very fatigued, and that's part of the recovery. I can't use my voice in quite the way I did because I can't project to, I don't know, hundreds of people in the sustainable way that I could before. I can do it short term and things like that. But I can bring lots of different skills together and go, that part of my work previously, that'll become my focus. I love it. And it gets to use the bits that I'm still really comfy with, jettison much of the stuff that, I was moving away from anyway for various reasons. And partly that's just because you grow up and you change and your casting type changes and things like that. But to frame it as a positive choice, it's a weird one, but it feels good. Like genuinely, like cancer is a really difficult, horrible thing that happened. And coming out of it, I feel good about it. It's weird.
Wow. properly inspiring, like genuinely. And it's we obviously talked a few times before coming to this point where we're recording, and I was always very unsure how to address it, I think, and I guess that's not uncommon. Cancer is this word that it just instigates fear in people, and it's not knowing how to talk about it, not knowing how to speak to someone who's either been through it or has got family going through it or has sadly lost someone to it. It is, taboo is a great word for it because no one really knows how to deal with it. I'm talking outside the sort of medical side of things. But to be able to hear you talk about it in such a way and to see you going from strength to strength, and I don't mean that as a pun, like genuinely with your career and what you're doing now, absolutely inspiring. So what we'll do is we'll literally leave that element of it there. You've talked brilliantly about it, explained it all, but as much as it will overhang you for a long period to a certain extent, and you will take medication, there'll still be a recovery process. It is something I imagine you consider to be mostly in the past and not affecting what happens going forward. So let's go forward. Let's move on. So coming out of that and being in a position where you're like, right now, work does need to take precedent again, and I've got to slightly adapt things. Had you done much presenting before that, or is this something that you've very much jumped into sort of with both feet since?
Well, both, actually. Yes, I had done some, but I'd always treated my kind of event MC work and even on-camera presenting work as part of the same overarching umbrella of jobs. It's a job. It's another job. It's a gap in my diary. It's a fee that I can work to. Let's get on with it. And I didn't particularly, I didn't particularly think of it as being its own special thing. It was just one of the many things that you do kind of as an actor. We've got these skills and we can apply them in different ways. But what's interesting is that, like I said, having had to stop and having recognized that there are some limitations in some of the things that I can do going forward, you look back at the work you have done previously and you go, they're the ones I really liked. I really enjoyed that. So I had some really big gigs in place that you could frame as being, as an actor, I've for many years I've worked with English heritage, and it can be lots of different characters, storytelling, or leading ghost tours, and I'm in character. But you can also look at that going, hang on, there's a big event here. It's a Halloween event, for example, and I'm leading people. I'm giving them the information that they need to do that. So it's not a massive leap to reframe even some of the previous work I did within that context anyway. And I was doing this kind of work, purely as a MC and as a presenter, no character at all. I am talking to camera or to an audience about an event. And I was really lucky because I looked back at some of those, particularly I do quite a lot with Leeds Castle, which I don't know if you know it, but it's in Kent and it's one of Henry wives' haunts, I think. And it's massive. So I've been hosting the joust there, medieval joust. They brought me in to do the classic car show, even though I genuinely know nothing about cars. I have a red one. That's all I can tell you. I've got a red one. And I've even hosted their triathlon. And I'm not a particularly sporty person. But I looked back at some of those gigs and going, hang on, that was 7,000 people at a time that I was hosting in front of. This wasn't just another job in the diary. It's its own thing. It's pretty cool. And I can reframe it a little bit and shout about them in a way that I've never done before and go, yeah, I think actually I am good at this. Let's make that my focus. It's such a weird journey it takes you on, but it isn't about going, well, I just picked one thing at random because I kind of enjoyed it. It is really about looking at all those different skills you used to bring to so many things and going, I think that has led me to here. Very strange, but it does genuinely feel positive.
I mean, you say that within that world of presenting. I mean, when we look at that moment where you go, okay, I'm this, and within that, like you say, there's the camera work, there's the live events, the corporate world, which is a very interesting and very is really growing now. Where there have always been conferences, but to have someone such as yourself as their MC or their keynote, presenter, whatever, that's a huge market that demands a particular skill set in itself, doesn't it? That, to make a group of executives sitting there who may think they're on a sort of, bit of a jolly for 3 days away from, the office and the wife, but to make them into a unit that is actually going to benefit from that, that time, that's a big skill in itself.
Well, you have to think of it like this. So, I worked as an improviser for years, feeding off an audience. Or any show that you do where there is an element of a live audience, you are in some way bouncing off the audience. I mean, that's kind of the fun part.
Yes.
It's pretty dry and difficult otherwise. But that skill, absolutely, you apply to when you're presenting. What are they responding to? Give them more of that. What are they not responding to? Well, don't do that because you're losing them, all the skills in putting a show together, understanding how a story works. Well, that's about shape and what people can sort of take on board and when. So it's about kind of giving the whole thing its due credit in a way that they're going to be able to take what they need from it, which leads you on to the skills that you have as a producer or a director. What do the audience want? How can you give them that at the right time and all of those things? So, they are very specific skills in their own right, but it's weird how you can combine things. And I'm sure you guys do this all the time in your work. Like, there's so much cross-pollination. Actually, a funny little anecdote here, right? Years ago, when we got this house and we were getting our mortgage, at one point, the bank suddenly pushed back and said, hang on a minute, you said you were an actor, but you've listed that you do all of these different things. It's like, yeah, that's the job of an actor. That's what it means to be an actor. You do this. Well, you've changed what you do as a profession, so we're going to withdraw the mortgage offer. And I was like, no. The only thing that's changed is your understanding of what I do. My job has stayed the same. I've always provided all my, my invoices or whatever that they needed to see. And they went, oh yeah, fair enough. It's just a matter of perspective.
You won against the bank. What?
That was the bank. Yeah, that was the bank.
You beat the bank, and we're not talking about some weird game show here. You genuinely, wow.
Well, I don't know if I beat them because that was convincing them to give me money at a massive markup.
What?
So I think,
yeah. Yeah, okay.
But it is that. It's that, as you said, it's that, that's that perception of and that moment. And we've had a couple of guests on that, and you have that moment, you go, this is who I am. And you give yourself a label.
Yeah.
And then trying to explain that label to people is you understand it, one understands, the label you give, but it is interesting, and it's taking that on, and sometimes all it means is being strong about it and having pride in that as well. I mean,
Yeah.
it's very easy to be within the profession and go and apologize, and as soon as one stops apologizing, I think then you be strong. Then you can not brag about it, but you can be proud about all those things that make us who we are. The people very rarely see. They see you stand in front of of an audience or a camera or whatever. They don't know that all those things are suddenly going on in the back of your head. We're pulling on these things all the time to suddenly present. And literally, and I don't mean that as blithely. I mean you are presenting something, and they don't see it. It's like the swan with the legs going under the water.
But you owe it to yourself to be kind of honest about these things, because you won't prosper by lying to yourself about what your casting type is.
Yeah.
Own it. Whatever you are is you. That's unique. Own it. And there is somewhere where, because you exist in the real world and these things are a reflection of the real world, there's somewhere in some way that you will be needed in the industry. So whatever your voice is, you can do voiceover. Whatever your kind of look is, you can act, because you are a real person, and it's all about reflecting reality in that way. And there's a humility in that, weirdly. So you can say, I do really big events because I don't get fazed by it. And you need someone who is going to be able to step out in front of, thousands and thousands of people and do the job that's needed. But the humility comes in actually saying, well, the job that's needed is, they're not here for me. They need information when they need it. They want to be entertained. So you don't want a voice just droning on and on. So there's an element of entertaining them, but know when to get off. No one is coming there to listen to me talking all day, And there are some events that I've done where you are filling for time, and people shout out sometimes, get on with it. I would love to, but the guest that we need hasn't arrived. Or
they're not here.
Yeah, or for some reason. And there are times in that you sometimes just go, you know what? You've heard enough from me. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah. Just leave it, because they're not here for you. They're here to make memories with their families and their friends and, have those good times. So what are you there for? Keep things moving along. Keep them entertained. Get off.
But there's an enormous skill to recognizing that and being able to tell that from an audience. And obviously within this industry, there are lots of different levels to audience. So as you've talked about there's an audience who aren't there for you. They're there for an event, for a particular thing that's going on, but you are there to almost help things run so it goes smoothly and to almost link from point to point. The difference is, if you're able to do that with a smile, a bit of a joke, in an entertaining way, then you're only adding to that experience for them. I guess it's very different, but equally very comparable. And I know that's a real kind of contradiction in terms, but when we talk about...
It's an industry of contradictions, I think.
Exactly that. But if we talked about a normal, in inverted commas, audience, so a group of people who have paid to go and see the thing that you are then doing. So you as an actor, as a singer, as a whatever, you are providing that product. And the sole reason that audience is there is to see that product. So you have a direct correlation there. You have that direct link. Whereas the audiences you've just spoken about, it couldn't be further from that. You are not providing any of what they're actually there to see, but you're guiding them to it. So having the ability to jump between the two, and obviously I've worked alongside you, a fabulous actor, to be able to do both those things.
Well, actually, there's a third.
Oh, go on.
Oh,
so I do some medical conferences, and these are product launches and things like that, or talking about products. Working with Philipps, so big global brand, and we travel, all around Europe, and I've been to America, and it's very cool work and lovely people. But the people that are going to that conference aren't there to be entertained, even. They're there to pick up knowledge. This is an industry standard thing. They go there to be, to see the next steps in their industry and kind of, apply their professional skills in all those ways. And what then is my job? Well, I have a new product or a new something to talk them through, maybe a new workflow or whatever that thing is. But if I can get them, if I can entertain them and hold them, then I am imparting that information to them. If it's a voice droning on and on and on and on, see what I mean? And
Yeah.
that loses you straight away. If it's, an AI powered presentation that's been done on the cheap, you might stop and glance at it, but you're not going to take a lot in because it doesn't capture you. So in that way, it's about finding the human in a very kind of corporatized, very sort of anonymized framework and going, actually, there's a story at the heart of this. There's a way that we can connect it to you and your experience. And the minute you start doing that, I mean, honestly, people connect with things and they retain the information. I teach this all the time. As humans, we are so arrogant that if we can't see ourselves in that position, in a kind of empathetic way, we don't care. Because why should we, really? It's in our evolution to not get bogged down in things that don't pertain to us. Life is busy and difficult enough in its own right. We don't need other people's stuff.
Yeah.
So we're always trying to just make connections. And that is the heart of the job, particularly in live events where they're not even there for you. Wow. If you can make a connection, then you really do have a platform to talk to them as people. And then you can build on that and talk about all the complicated stuff. I mean, history works in the same way. Don't go in with facts and figures. Go in with the human angle, the story, and the facts and figures are kind of on top, peppered throughout it. But it's not the foundation. The people are the foundation.
Incredible. Have you ever thought about doing a podcast or anything, mate? I think you'd be
or maybe some YouTube content on story structure.
Something like that.
Yeah,
you should be a presenter or an actor. I reckon that would really... It's been fabulous catching up, Christophe. Really, really good fun. And normally, or I say normally, quite often when we have a guest on, we'll say, right, we're going to finish up with a funny story or an anecdote or something. I'm not going to do that today because you've talked about such incredible things and so passionately and given us such an incredible experience. I don't want to belittle it by going, well, let's throw something silly on the end. But what I am going to do is talk about an absolute truth and something that we've referenced a couple of times just to finish off is how we met. Because we really need to describe this, and I think it's a great way to leave this. We've got a couple of minutes to go before I know you've got to run on. So I, Douglas Spade, met you. Please continue this story.
I can't remember the name of my character. Actually,
you know what? That's why I handed it over because I couldn't remember either. But essentially, it was Wiglet's farm, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We were on, which was this big sort of summer event thing. An opening of an indoor play area, essentially.
Yeah, like a soft play thing.
Yeah, but immersed in this story brought to life by us and a few other actors, where Wiglet's farm, which was the location, was all about a pig and the people around the pig. Like, so you were the landowner, the sort of pompous but rather lovely, bit forgetful kind of older gentleman who owned the land, and then there was a farmer, and then there was the gardener, Douglas Spade. But just a surreal thing. But the reason I wanted to mention it is, number one, it's ridiculous and it's mad, but it was great fun. We're still friends now because of that, which is great as well. But equally, it's just another element to those audiences, and they could have gone along that day to the opening of this thing, and the kids would have had a great time running around in the play area, and it served its purpose. But it was heightened by these fools, for want of a better word, wandering around doing silly things. And I just think it goes to everything else we've talked about as well. I just think it really sort of sums
But it really does. I mean, and kudos to Wiglet's Farm for kind of getting the value in bringing people in to connect to their audience. They've got these wonderful new facilities, and they were, it was a big one and it was really cool.
Yeah.
And as a dad myself, with a daughter who loves a soft play, that's a draw. But what do you hang a memory off? You don't hang a memory off cool visuals or, just the facilities in themselves. It's off of the moments, the interactions, the people, the story, the big thing that made an impression at the time. So we were able to come in there with I don't want to say free reign, but a lot of freedom to interpret it, to bring our own energy and our own skills, to bounce and off each other, to learn about each other and go, here we are in this moment in front of the audience. What's going to happen? And it was really fun.
It was. Almost as much fun as it's been chatting to you today, mate. We really appreciate it.
Like it.
Yeah. I should do a podcast as well.
You should do one, Sam, yeah.
Christophe, mate, it's been absolutely brilliant. I know you've got to run on, so we should let you go. But thank you again for giving out your time, and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much. And really, thank you for your kind words. If there is anyone out there who is struggling, talk to people. Seriously, reach out to me. But don't do these things alone, because there's a positive way through things, no matter how dark things are looking. So on that note, thank you so much, guys. I've absolutely loved it.
Brilliant.
Thank you,
been
mate.
a pleasure having you, mate.
Been a
Take
pleasure.
care of yourself. We'll speak to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, Christophe. Take care. Bye-bye. Now, our introduction was quite glowing, but I don't think we've oversold that episode. In fact, we couldn't have oversold that chat. That was fantastic. I mean, Christophe is not necessarily unique, but he puts a very unique turn on his own personal experience. And, that amazing guy. Sometimes the word inspiring is overused, but I think that was truly an inspiring chap. Fantastic guy.
I said it during, didn't I, that some of what he was saying was truly inspiring, and I think you get this incredible warm feeling to know, and we won't dwell on it because he doesn't dwell on it, but for someone who's gone through some fairly scary shit, to put it politely, to come out the other side and just be like, life is great, look at this, seize this, pursue that, like, just absolutely every cloud has a silver lining epitomized, because and I think actually his cloud is almost entirely silver. There's a little bit of grey, and he dealt with that in such an incredible way and just moved on and gone, fuck it, come at me. Let's now make the most of life. And
but it's interesting how he doesn't play it down. There's no hero and no histrionics in that. Just said, dealt with, done. Look how good it is now. That's fabulous. Yeah.
Brilliant. And genuinely a wonderful performer. Check out his podcast as well, minus the Hangover. Particularly if you're into your no or low alcohol drinks. It is, and I am a genuine listener. I wasn't just saying that to blow smoke up his arse or what have you. I do listen to it. It's really good. Him and Pete are brilliant. I never thought I'd be able to enjoy something that you think, well, how can you do that unless you're joining in, sort of thing.
Yeah.
The thought of, well, someone's having a drink and telling me whether they like it or not, and they're doing that only audibly. Like, for me, I'm listening to it. Like, how can that possibly work? It works better than you can possibly.
It's superb.
Yeah. So check out the podcast. Check out anything else that Christophe happens to be doing. But just another fabulous guest and another fabulous episode, which we can claim no responsibility for other than just being. Like, really?
Yeah. We were just here, really,
Yeah, exactly. However, next week we can lay claim to what's happening, because it is just us. And I'm not going to, no spoilers here, but next week's quite significant, isn't it, mate?
It is. Yes, it is. Yeah. And I think we should leave it there. I think that should be a teaser, and to pull in regular listeners and watchers. Come and join us. There's a very good reason.
Yes, there's something. Yeah, just be there. Trust us. Yeah. Until then, mate.
Absolutely.
Cheers to you. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you on a very special Sunday next week.
Indeed, you will.
Cheers, Sam. See you later on. Ta-da. Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.